from the VA. And that was the first thing that happened. It took years for me to get that. And now they were supposed to discharge me from the Army, give me a retirement. I'm supposed to be getting a medical retirement. I got a nice little letter last month. I have not been able to find, but I asked. It says that I can't get my drill pay because I'm getting disability. Okay, fine and dandy. But they want to go back and recapture all my drill pays I've already gotten paid. I have another veteran here that he has a good story. Would you like to tell it, Brent?
I went through the same thing.
Close to your mouth, please.
I went through the same thing, them trying to recoup. Actually, they did. They went back to 2009 when I first was given a disability. I came off of active duty. They forced us or required us to go and talk to the VA. We went and talked to the VA. I got my disability started in 2011. They had to sign a paper or waiver, everything, so the National Guard Bureau could collect all of our VA records, our medical. The next thing I know, the Quality Retention Board basically forced me to retire. So I had over 20 years of service. They forced me to retire. I found out later that the kangaroo post-deployment that they run us through is not acceptable for us to be able to do that, because the Quality Retention Board cut me off or keep me out of the Guard service. They have told me for years that you're not entitled to disability, you're not really entitled to be able to have a retirement, because I went through their post-deployment, and there were numerous other soldiers who went through the same thing out of 39th Brigade. There were 27 senior NCOs who were caught up in that and basically destroyed the backbone of the 39th Infantry. And Colonel Womack was a part of the group that did all that. So I do hold hard feelings against now Representative Womack. I can tell you a lot of stories out of Egypt, deployment when he was a battalion commander. I know that they have said that, hey, we don't need to say anything that's not provable, but I can tell you stories that if there's any way to check out, I would really highly recommend that people check into these stories and to determine the truth. It's very scary to have a man representing us who says that he's a veteran and that he really cares for everyone. He did not take care of his personnel whatsoever, his troops. He was just the opposite when he was in command. And I would call home to my wife. She can tell you a lot of stories about how upset I got. I'm an easygoing guy. I love most of the commanders I've ever worked for, but he is one of the two worst. My wife and I were talking tonight. They're two peas of a pod. They were cut out of the same cloth. One was an Army Reserve commander, and he was a National Guard. And if that's the sign of our leadership, we're in trouble.
Amen. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you.
With us today, I have a man who may have been on the island of Haiti during the times when they were making zombies, because this man died and came back to life. And he's going to tell you about it.
All right. Okay, now, hang on. I'm better at doing this without a mic.
Okay.
This is the thing with me and the VA. You need to understand, I left active duty in '94. Desert Storm veteran. Okay. 2 RCOMs, 3 AAMs, 3 good conduct medals. Never had a mark on my record. I was involuntarily separated as a single parent. Severance down, $9,600 to $74, 1994. Okay? I went private sector, worked, stayed away from the VA as long as I could. In 2012, I said, okay, job market's getting dicey. I went to the VA. Went through all my C&P evaluations, rated at 50% for PTSD, 10% on an ankle injury. The first thing they did, okay, all these years later, was they recouped $9,674. I was involuntarily separated. I didn't take a lot of the NCOs he was talking about were separated out. It wasn't, here, take separation or the retirement. No, mine was forced. Okay, that's the first thing the VA did. So they rated me at 60% total. So we go along, we do our thing. December 17th of last year, well, actually the 15th, I went to Representative Womack's office. They denied a claim. Well, they screwed up and didn't review all the evidence. 2 days later, apparently, not to my knowledge, I died. Okay, Womack has a letter from the VA, the 15th, with an explanation. The 17th, I died. I went to my annual physical January 8th at Healthcare 13. The 12th, the following Monday, mental health called me and made an appointment with me. The 13th, I opened the letter addressed to my wife with my condolences of my death. I've been dead almost a month. I never knew it. I was picking up prescriptions, making appointments, going to appointments, filing appeals, okay, and I was dead in the system. Oh yeah, we're going to get to that. She says, tell them about the money. Okay, it took them 2 days to bring me back to life. By the 15th of January, I was back to life in the computer. Okay, this was administrative review at the VA, at regional office. I was alive. I was back in the computer, all my benefits, all my appeals, and my disability were all back active. 7 days later, they cut my death benefit check and my final month of benefits check from the Department of the Treasury. Okay? They sent those to me, or to her actually, and I had to turn around and send them back. Okay? The Veterans Healthcare System, the Veterans Benefit Systems, debt collection systems, or the Treasury Department. None of those 4 computers, after a $100 million overhaul of the VA, communicate. The benefit side killed me. The healthcare side knew nothing about it. The debt collections knew nothing about it, and they couldn't even figure out what checks I had or what money I had. And then them turn around to the Treasury Department, they're cutting checks after I'm back alive. Okay? So, where's the taxpayers' money going? It's like, many of you have seen the interview I did with Fox News, and I posed a question. Reduction in force is coming. 230,000, 250,000 troops. We have these type of problems now. What's going to happen in 3 to 5 years when you add 250,000 troops to the VA healthcare system?
Absolutely.
Okay? If they have these kind of problems, and we keep having these things that are blowing up and they're documented, that's like right now, okay? I'm in a big battle with mental health up there on an 1155 complaint. And I spoke to Steve about this. I have an SQ, if any of you have had your PTSD evaluations, you probably had it, SQ of 4, okay? I have PTSD. Depression of 0. First thing they did when they put me on medication was started me out on an antidepressant, an anti-anxiety, and sleep medication. Okay? Now, I have a depression of 0. Why do we keep raising my antidepressants? We went from 37 to 75 to 150. We cut the anti-anxieties in half, sent me through the roof, put me manic, made me suicidal. Oh no, you're fine. until I finally blew up at a prescriber, which is no longer my prescriber. She took me off the antidepressants in 6 days. Many of you veterans are used to no medication. You go on to medication slowly, you come off of it slowly. I went from a clinical dosage of 150 milligrams of an antidepressant to 0 in 6 days. That was 3 days in the corner, curled up, manic, and thinking the world was ending. I don't wish that on anybody. Then she turned around and doubled my sleeping medication and added another one. I took that one night. It took her an hour to wake me up. It almost killed me.
Oh dear.
Because the medicine she added used to be used for blood pressure medication. Now the head of the PTSD, Dr. Eason, he said, "You still taking it?" Hell no. I'm not going to tempt fate. Well, which one was it? I don't know. You tell me. You're the doctor. That's exactly what I told the gentleman last week. Needless to say, he canceled my appointment after that too for some reason. I had to go see another psychologist today. Okay? And as Anton was saying, what I said to her today, and it was in regard to my complaint that I filed against the VA for that care, was, are we doing cookie cutter medicine, or do we just don't care? Okay? That's what it's coming down to. Because as all this prescriber, many of y'all have medications. If you ever hear the term clinical dose, do you understand what that is? Clinical dosage is the statistical average of what medication levels are prescribed across the board. Okay? It's irrelevant. Because what 5 milligrams of medication does to me and what 5 milligrams of medication does to you is two different stories. But she just kept pushing, well, your clinical dosage needs to be a minimum of. No. And she almost killed me. Okay? And that's what we're dealing with as veterans. Okay? It's cookie cutter, take it or leave it, because if you refuse it, and Steve can tell you, what happens if you refuse VA medical care? They'll take it away from you.
That looks right out.
Yep. Okay, if I walk in mental health tomorrow and say, I am no longer taking my medications, I am no longer seeking your advice, I won't be in the system for long. Because you've refused the health care.
And a lot of that, they do without sending you a letter.
Oh, no. They won't.
They don't want a paper trail.
Mm-mm.
Yes, Lynn?
I was diagnosed with PTSD. And
Sorry.
I was diagnosed with PTSD and seen a mental health doctor like you with it. And then she quit. She and my primary care doctor, Herndon, in Fort Smith, told me he came to my house and Steve stole my chainsaw. But he came to my house and told me that she and he were quitting, and they did. And then I tried to get the VA. I'm still in touch with them, trying to get help for the problem. Now, I got an appointment. I got that letter from WAMAC. I called them today and canceled both of my appointments to mental health because I don't trust them. I trust them as far as I trust WAMAC. I have no faith. I'm sorry. But that's the truth, the God's truth. That letter.
I'm wondering how many vets in here are no vets at this problem. You go to a specialist, they recommend medication, and they know their stuff. You go to your primary care doctor, and your primary care doctor won't give you the medication.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's not carried by the VA.
I was hooked on 30 milligrams twice a day of morphine. And that man sitting right there got me off of, he and this lady here and my 2 children got me off of that drug. Steve Isaacson and I sat up at night talking. And Steve helped me and listened to me and is helping me today. He talks whenever I want to talk, and we talk every day. Steve is my friend, F-R-I-E-N-D friend. Anton and I gossip a little bit on Facebook, and degrading to be like you. I can't imagine what I would be doing or going through if I were in your position.
Trust me, it takes quite a bit, because this is the one thing, and I sat there and told one of my psychologists something. I said, if you ever, when I come in here, I'm gonna come in here unfiltered. I'm not gonna pull punches, okay? I'm not a guinea pig, I'm not a test subject. And that's what I told her. I said, if you ever send somebody in here to try to put me in 1 Alpha in the ward, it won't be nice. I said, you know, I'm not a guinea pig for the system. Okay? I don't, you know, and that's something that, like Anton says, it's shameful. Okay, that a veteran has to deal with the things they do. And even if it's in your medical records, okay, they won't. Like with me, one of the things I was in the oil field fires in Desert Storm. Burned the crap out of my sinuses. My nose bled for 3 weeks. But I don't have sinus problems because they're not in my medical records. It's in my dental records. Because my teeth, my sinuses abscessed down into my dental, into my teeth. Oh yeah, that hurt. That was nasty. In Fort Sill in '93, they pulled one of my teeth out because it had abscessed so bad. And it's documented, but every time the VA looks at this, they pull my medical records. They've been told to pull my dental records. They won't. They keep saying, well, we reviewed all service records from that. No, did you pull the dentals? No, then you didn't review it. We've been around that tree 3 times already. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot in there. There's a lot of bad stuff that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't understand.
All right, throw a little bit more fuel on the fire here. We're not about the VA, okay? We're talking, Little Rock.
This microphone is pretty useless. There's nothing I've been able to do to improve it. We can try to stand up and speak. What I want to do at this point is we'll point out people. If you make your comment, and then we're going to ask Clay, who's an expert in the insurance side with veterans benefits, have him verify a little bit of what's going on through here. So go ahead, Steve.
Just throw a little more fuel on the fire. To me, the VA is the VA. It doesn't matter if it's the VA hospital or VA Little Rock Regional. Okay? VA stands for the same thing. This is an actual investigation from the IG that just came out. Little Rock just got their hands smacked real bad. They went through, people have claims in. What they're doing, they're moving the dates up, so one, if they were approved, they get less money. Well, they're saying they found one, but I know there's more than that. Found one claim that's 2 decades old, 2 decades now, okay? And they moved it to 14 days ago. 14 days. And don't even know if that veteran's alive. People, this is what we're dealing with, okay? Every veteran fought for this country. They signed that blank check to keep our freedom. And I hate to say it, I don't dislike anybody, but that man sitting there that's your representative right now isn't doing diddly squat for none of you. None of you. There's proof there. Where'd he go? He run away? There. All right, Jim, he's in. I've got stacks of files at home of veterans that I help. And I help veterans all over the United States. They come to me. Okay, when somebody wants their claim, the quickest time I've gotten somebody a claim of 100% in back pay, 10 days. I use my computer and the phone. What are these guys doing down here in cubicles? They can't get it, it's like 125 days out or more. Their coaches tell them, if it's got PTSD on there, don't put it down as PTSD. No, don't give them PTSD. Give them, they're depressed. Well, excuse me, I was in the medical field for over 30 years. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression goes with it. 2 + 2 is 4, people. This needs to change. You know what happened in Arizona? We don't need it here. And it's time to stop it. And now's the time. I'm here to stand to stop it. If I get elected or not, I'm gonna stop it. Because I've been accused, okay, of being a bulldog, right? Bulldog on a stake. And I'm a pit bull on a stake. Trust me, I'm a pit bull on a stake. As Jim. All these people.
On the VA's part? No, Steve got it right. These people are actually under orders to purposely try to screw us vets. There are people that are pencil pushers and the top echelon that are telling people down below to screw us. It is that simple.
Clay, would you like to?
Yeah,
A little bit on what you heard today about here as an insurance.
My name is Staff Sergeant Cooper, United States Air Force, second generation, retired. Back in 2005, my wife and I, we looked at our age and we said, well, we need to do something different. The VA's not doing nothing for me, and neither anybody else. I can go get a job, whether it's construction, whatever it is, whatever these freaking civilians are doing in 72 days, I can do it in 72 hours. Okay? Veterans, they turn their backs on us. Flat out. I don't give a frick where you at. They're going to turn your back. I don't give a damn if J.B. Hunt or they're down here at USA Truck. Logistics, I can blow them out of the water in any logistic position and maintenance. In fact, I was 1 in 7 Air Force-wide, worldwide, to manage the F-16 repair facility for Desert Storm. The difference between me and the 6 other people, I was a non-volunteer because headquarters CAC wanted me there to get it done right. Okay? 2005 rolls around. Wife and I said, we got to do something different. You know, we're too old for this. Nobody don't want to hire anybody over 36. So we started up a medical billing service. We refinanced the house over $20,000, put everything on the line, and we started it. Boy, I'll tell you what, we almost lost our shirts, but it paid off. We got the best medical billing service in Northwest Arkansas, bar none. I'll challenge Northwest Medical Center, Mercy, I'll even challenge Washington Regional Center. Because they say, well, this person here, we can't find them. It goes to collections. Veterans, okay, let's talk about veterans now. In 90 days, they'll automatically send them to collections. I've changed that. I have gotten in all these hospitals cases, you know, I'm just like Steve Isaacs is here. I'm a pit bull. I'll raise hell. I don't care who you are. Stand in my way, I'm going over top of you. I guarantee you. Because I'm going to take care of that veteran. I will. So help me God. And it makes me mad. Back in 2006, the gentleman up here in Benton County, the representative for veterans, he was going out the door. The gentleman that took his place deliberately dropped the ball on one surviving spouse. Her husband was picked up for cardiac. Is 100% disabled. Cardiac, you take the individual by ambulance to the nearest hospital, period. He goes to the hospital, he dies the same day. A few months later, while the spouse is receiving benefits, the VA comes up and says, we're going to garnish and pay for the surgery and everything. Incurred for that veteran, because why? They didn't transfer him down here to the VA hospital. You don't take a cardiac person past the first medical facility, period. It goes on. Just gentlemen back here, this is true. God bless you, man. Where's the other one at? Here, okay? Every day I hear it. And this gentleman especially, I hear it every day. Their claims are lost down at Flowood, Mississippi. And I talked to one the other day down Flowood, Mississippi. Oh, I don't make enough money. Well, how much you make? Oh, $14.50 an hour. Answering the phone. I was on hold for 2.5 hours, if not a little bit more. Reason why, and my phone keeps track of time. It went 9999. 99 minutes and 60. I mean, it pegged out. I was on the phone so long, and I didn't get the answer. It's every day. I get this. claim denied for not a medical necessity. Guy had a heart attack. He died. Not a medical necessity? What the hell is it then? If you think I'm mad, I'm beyond mad. And thank to the grace of God that I don't go off the hinge. Make Timothy McVeigh or whatever it is look like a Boy Scout. But I'm saying, I don't have PTSD, thank God, because I'm a disabled vet. I don't have everything because I kept my cool, I kept my wit, and I kept my focus. My focus is on the veteran. I have talked to representatives. You name a representative Northwest Arkansas, not a single one of them ever called my office. There's only one person that was running for office or in office has ever bothered to call me back. That's Curtis Coleman when he was running for governor. I asked, hey, Curtis, can you come by my office for 5 minutes? That's all I asked, just 5 minutes. Curtis came back to my office for 5 minutes. Not just 5 minutes, an hour and a half. He took it seriously. He took Medicare seriously. He took everybody seriously. Especially the veterans, because he said, we owe the veterans. We made them a promise and it needs to be upheld. Today, I was working several claims. They were denied for past timely filing. I go in my system, I can tell you exactly what those claims were sent. They sent within 17 days of the time of service. Global says past timely filing. But you know something? The claims I'm working, the ones that are 2 years old, I'm getting them paid. I'm not sending no claim to collections, period, unless I can find out for a fact that service member wasn't qualified for the date of service. But this is another kicker. Date of service qualified. These veterans, like I said, like we said, all these vets, we made a promise. We upheld our promise to serve and protect. The thing about it is, those who gave us the oath, they're not keeping their promise. Okay? The ones that ought to be in office, like Curtis Coleman's not there. What Agent Hutchinson's going to do, I don't have a clue. Because when I asked him about it here a while back, he was distant. I couldn't even read the guy.
I have a question, Clay.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to help veterans that are having trouble with their affairs, or do you work strictly with hospitals or clinics or something? Is that the
I can point them in a direction. I can find out information. Steve Isaac and I have joined forces on a professional level.
Okay, so then you wouldn't necessarily through your company, but through your experience,
Right.
you could
I'll
help
find
a
out.
veteran that has a problem. They could contact you,
Right.
and you'd say, hey, why don't you give this place a call? Why don't you contact?
Exactly. Yeah.
This is the steps. The way you could make sure you
Guys,
guys
you're
that.
talking about being qualified a second ago, and Steve can verify this, he's seen paperwork on it. I sat back, I was sitting there, I was unable to work for 2 years, okay? I couldn't work. I can't work still, because of physical problems. I can't maintain employment. Steve sat there and saw the paperwork. They came back and took all kinds of money from me for prescriptions like you're talking about.
And it happened to another veteran
And it's like I couldn't even work. How am I supposed to pay for the prescriptions? And then they try to take every dime they could out of out of my wife's income tax return. When she didn't even make enough to even barely get by.
Yeah,
much
so
less
they
not
won't go
qualified.
after you. They will go after her too.
Right.
They'll do that. And they're vicious. They don't care.
We're talking thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
They don't care who the hell they destroy. And I'm sorry, I'm mad. They killed my uncle, they murdered my uncle, and murdered my dad. My uncle was exposed to RF energy from radar. He was the go-to guy for the United States military. When they captured a radar, he's the one that goes in there and finds out how it ticked. My dad worked Type 2 ICBM missiles. He was exposed to Class A poisons. I sat here at the VA center with him before he died. ankles swollen up, I mean, literally this big around, black. They weren't black, blue, they were black. Doctor said nothing wrong with those chemicals you exposed to. They're nothing. Carbon tetrachloride. Hey, that's good stuff. That's all. Take a bath in it. Back then, it didn't have a warning label on it. Matter of fact, I don't recall any of the toxic chemicals, methylated ketone even, didn't have a toxic label on it. You remember that? 94? They didn't have toxic, nothing on it. It just fluid ounces of weight. That's about it.
Gas too for air cargo, that's all they worried about.
And the thing about it is, you look it up, and it says, it doesn't cause, may cause kidney and liver damage. It says it will cause. The doctor says, hey, what do I know about the toxic chemicals? Two things. I got a commercial driver's license to transport it and handle it. Not only that, I did a lot of research. The company, Martin Marietta, I believe, Martin Marietta, I think it was, that was making the ICBM missile, the Titan II, they shut down. Why? Not because they phased the Titan II ICBM out. The actual thing is, people that at the plant were getting cancer and other elements handling the same chemicals. Go figure. But any of you need any help, give us a call. Get an ambulance bill, let me know about it. I guarantee you, we'll get something going.
Thanks, Clay. I was thinking that make sure that the only thing that we can do here is work together outside of the government system. The government is not going to police itself. It's not going to trim costs other than through trimming benefits or something like that. These people want to protect the jobs that they have. We did a doctor's panel on Obamacare. We've got it recorded and we have it up on YouTube. In the audience, we had a VA psychiatrist. He's very conservative. He wanted to be there to see what's going on, but he would not get in front of the camera or make a statement. He was afraid to do that. You maybe can hear in the video a little bit in the background. He's a psychiatrist. I would love to get to know this guy personally, maybe on a private level. But people that work at the VA, they do not come out and speak publicly. They're afraid. And I don't know if they're legally bound, like the military, to not speak out. Are they? Well, isn't that a clever self-protection sort of thing, that they can't speak out against the very body they think is corrupt or poor quality? Just give me a moment here, you guys.
Whistleblower cover-up?
But this, pardon me?
Was it whistleblower cover-up? I mean,
To extent, whistleblower laws. Whistleblower laws? Okay. Anyways, I personally know a counselor at the VA, and I don't believe he would do anything but just show up and listen. So, we all have problems, you know, and I've heard these personally from many other people. We've heard about them here today. There's documentation to prove these sorts of things. The distance people have to go through bureaucratically to get aid. You know, Anton said that they were issued a card if they weren't given service within a certain period of time. But if it's an emergency service, they ought to be able to go to any hospital facility anywhere. There's a fellow named Gene McVeigh, some of you may have heard of him. He's worked very hard down in the Fort Smith area to get benefits for people that had Agent Orange in the Fort Smith base. They weren't given benefits because it wasn't overseas. Well, he's very knowledgeable. He used to be the state president of the American Legion. He was also on the board in Washington, D.C. for the American Legion. He was on more of a national board. So he knows these issues. He's a former fighter pilot. He ran against Huckabee in a primary, I suppose, in the, I don't know if it was in the 80s or early 90s, 92 or something. But he primaried him for governor. Very knowledgeable man. He couldn't be here today, but he sent a statement. He said, there's only one thing, and this guy's worked hard. There's all kinds of things we've talked about. He's worked hard to try to take action to help the veterans. He says, the only thing I could hope for is that there would be a rule that there would be an expiration period of time before they get care, like 30 days. He says that's the only thing that he sees possible to do this. I have a hobby of mine, and I've been doing it for many years. And the hobby has increased over the years, and my hobby is SSRIs and antidepressants. And I know that I'm not a doctor formally, I'm undocumented, right? So people say, well, if you're not a doctor, you cannot speak out on these things. Let me tell you something I know to be fact. And I've heard psychiatrists say this is fact. You cannot measure brain chemistry. This argument is still being used among the psychiatric, psychological professionals. They say that you have a brain chemistry imbalance. That's where much of this stuff comes from. The fact is, your brain chemistry cannot be measured. Even if they did measure it, which they do not. Is there anybody in this room that's been on or is on antidepressants that ever gets a blood test for your chemical imbalance? They would have to actually take something from your brain. Now, it is a fact that brain chemistry, this is something they have discovered, is in 1 hour, your brain chemistry can be completely different. So how can you do that? Based on your thinking, based on your spirit, your brain chemistry will change based on what's going on. So how can they use this argument that came out in the late 70s, I think, early 80s, when this amazing thing that you have a chemical imbalance and we're going to make drugs that are going to correct this imbalance, to balance the imbalance. There is no fact that this is effective. It is factual. All the side effects from all these drugs bring on things such as suicidal thoughts. This is what's being fed to the veterans. That's why I'm talking about this. It's a big part of the Veterans Administration. Now, some of you may have heard this. There's a lot of pro-Second Amendment here. I think the Second Amendment is one of the foundations, along with freedom of speech, of this country. We have veterans that have served, that are trained in using weapons, that if they end up with psychiatric help, have taken SSRIs, there is talk that they are not fit to bear arms.
Right.
And some of you may have heard this. It's a real threat. These are things that are being done through the executive branch in the name of gun safety. Now, we're not going to get, what we're doing here tonight is we're hearing stories. We know there's a problem. We've heard personal stories. It may not have happened to you personally, but it is a fact that these things actually do take place, very poor care, when the government runs anything. If we're going to be effective, we need to find some way to do this outside of the government system, because any government employee is not going to help us. Okay? So we're going to have to figure out a network, figure out a plan, get behind a certain, if it's a small body of us, we're going to need to get behind a certain issue and zero in on a certain issue that we think we can win and unify our voice. And so we're going to need to network. We need to stay in touch with one another, communicate, learn. If you do social networking, get on to Facebook if you don't do that or whatever. Get on our message board if you want to be an active member of the Tea Party. We have a lot of veterans in the Tea Party. And trade phone numbers. Stay in touch with one another. Don't stay home. Or if you do stay home, get on the phone and make regular contact and maintain our relationships with one another. This is the only way these things are going to happen, is it's outside of the government agencies. Exactly. And so then we have an opportunity when we have active people that are actually engaging, staying in touch with one another. We'll find an issue that we can focus on, and then perhaps with a victory. If we can take an issue and we can bring it to a congressman or a senator or something like that, and some of us have contacts, direct contacts with that, or through the state. If we can get a victory on a particular issue, that raises the spirit and the hope among people here, and we might get more people involved and have a bigger voice. This is all going to happen outside of government agencies. We're not going to complaints. I mean, you go to the VA, you complain, I'll tell you a brief story about this. I was getting tires changed. There's this local policeman in my Farmington. I said, hi, you're a policeman, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, I'm not here anymore. I work in the Johnson Police Department now. And he said he's a veteran from Afghanistan. I said, oh, so you go to the VA? Yeah. And he says, they make me come every 6 months for a checkup. And he says every time he goes there, they question him, like you've heard here tonight. Do you have any problems? Are you suffering from depression? Do you feel down? Nope, I feel good. You sure? And they try to make him go down the hall, he says it. So when he's at the VA here in Fayetteville, they want him to go down for a psychological eval. And every 6 months, he has to say, no, I'm good, I really am. And you have to stay calm. And you have people pressuring you to go down the hall and get on some medications. You get on medications, they can quiet and control your voice, right? And or they can call you unstable because you're on medications. They win either way, and they manage to control. And I don't see how that we're going to be able to do this as long as we seek complaints through the government. It's going to have to be done through the legislative process, privately, outside of the system. Steve?
I can give one suggestion.
Talk loud, please, because the microphone, some people can't hear very good.
Okay. I said, give one suggestion. As the veterans in here, you have a family member, okay? You have someone you trust, okay? I would advise to put their name on your HIPAA list. Then, if you're on their HIPAA list, okay, you call the VA, they've got to answer your questions. There's no ifs, buts about it.
That's
okay?
right.
That's what I do with vets. They put me on their HIPAA list. They're having problems with VA. Guess what? They call me. All right, I call up and I say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm on so-and-so's HIPAA list. Here's his last four, blah, blah, blah. This is what I want to know. At first, they'll say, oh, no, we can't find you on the HIPAA list. Your name's not on there. Oh, yeah, really? I said, okay. Well, I hang up and I'll call Washington, D.C. And, that's what I tell them. I'll call Washington, D.C. I said, you'll get a phone call. Next thing you know, when I hang up, they get a call back and they're really nice. Oh, yeah, we just found your name. Get on the HIPAA list. You can protect a veteran that way. With anything that's a lot of things that's going on with that hospital that he or she's having a problem with. Okay? This poor lady right here, I've known her for a long time. She's having problems. We got her disabilities, but they're still having problems. She should have had surgery 2 years ago. So guess what? Here comes that bulldog. Well, pit bull, bulldog, whatever. But get on the HIPAA list.
All right, anybody have a particular question that, there's a couple people here that could be helpful, an idea, go ahead. Yeah, speak loud, please. Stand up.
Would it do any good?
Yeah, then we can hear you better if you're
Would
standing
it
up.
do any good? I myself, I'm a veteran from the Vietnam era, but would it do any good to take up, in different communities and everything, take up petitions to names and such, and present them to some of these representatives or some of these people that want to be our representatives? Do you think it would do any good? Does anybody have any experience with that?
That's a good question. Maybe a targeted petition
Right.
on something specific, like this issue of that there be a limit on the time that they get care. And if it's an emergency, they get care immediately. Now, there are these cards that are already passed out, but as I understand it, they're not really that effective, or there's...
It takes you 30 days. If they can't get to you any faster than 30 days, you can use that card. Go ahead, Steve, make that.
Okay, on the card, on the back, there's a number. You have to call that number, and the person on the other end is the one that makes the decision if you qualify to go see an outside doctor. Okay? It's that person's decision. It's like calling the 1-800-827-1000 number. Forget it. They're useless. Because they're from another state. Them cards, them numbers there.
I understand that, but do you think, is it possible, do you think it's possible to get a petition up and present it to someone in Little Rock or a politician in Washington, D.C. and bring attention to the hospital here at Fayetteville or anywhere else for that matter,
Let me tell you this, that I know a petition is absolutely possible, without a doubt. It's like, what is going to be said on the petition? And we also have unified the Tea Parties across the state so we communicate among one another, all across the state. We have a message board for group leaders of these various Tea Parties. It's called the Arkansas Tea Party Alliance. We have a Facebook page. And you need to be, we'll review who you are to invite you onto the Arkansas Tea Party Alliance so that we don't get corrupted or whatever, some sort of thing. But if you pass a review, then you'll be part of that page. You can look at it and see what the topics are. Now, if we do come up with a petition, it's going to have to be, how is it worded? What is the purpose of this petition? If you have an interest, perhaps if you've done petitions in the past, perhaps you could find someone, work with someone on the language of the petition, do a little research on this. And what you could do is bring that to us. There are other organizations here too. Is Duncan still here? Duncan started this group against the 119 issue. Anyway, so it's another group of churches. Churches have not been very involved, but a lot of veterans go to church. So we have the Arkansas Tea Party Alliance, which is all the Tea Parties across the state. We have the 119 issue. We also have a fellow down in west Arkansas that was involved in that. So we have names and bodies of volunteers that could do this and collect signatures across the state. Now wait, I've been part of petition drives. I know LC here has. We've collected signatures. In fact, Governor Asa Hutchin refused to sign the petition to let the people of Arkansas make a decision about their own health care future. I personally asked him to sign it and he refused. So the governor is not going to be of any help. He's proven that through pushing through the continuation of Obamacare. Now perhaps this VA system, the long-range goal is to get rid of the VA system, unify it with the Obamacare, and we'll all be under the same health care system. But back to your point about the petition, what is the wordage going to be? That's going to determine whether we're going to be able to get a lot of support or not. And so,
you get one up, I'll be glad to pass it around my part of it.
well, what I'm asking is, it's a great idea. The trouble is we have too many ideas, not enough Indians, you know. But if you are willing to look at petitions, see if a petition could be drafted about something like this, we will get behind you. In fact, once you have something more further research, and if you have some language roughly drafted, we actually have access to a guy that used to write legislation for the state of Arkansas, an attorney that is very conservative. We can bring him that, have him draft the language. So we have networks of people to do this sort of thing.
That would have to be done by someone with more skill than I've got.
That's what I just told you though, is if you come up with the concept, you know, maybe if we can get a petition going and if there is some form of effectiveness, we will do it. You'll get volunteers right here in this room and across the state.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask Anton something.
Yes.